Welcome, guys. This is my first episode of Comedy Conscious Podcast. I'm Matt Galletta. I'm basically a comedian from New Jersey. I call it Comedy Conscious because I want to talk about comedy, but I also want to talk about, spiritual things, political things, things that engage us in the minds of conscious humanity, whether it's political or otherwise. And really, it's kind of a take on the genre of comedy, like George Carlin and Bill Hicks did, which is conscious comedy. Mine's comedy conscious. I'm running on a low sleep, so did I say that wrong? I'm not editing this, but yes. So conscious comedy is a type of comedy where you kind of learn stuff when you listen to certain comedians that you wouldn't even know before, a perspective, and that's one of the more powerful things about comedy. But yeah, I was just watching before I came on here because I am running on such low sleep. I don't even feel funny, man, because so much shit from just me getting kicked out of my house, and I sold my truck. I sold everything to come and do this. And, it's weird when you have a lot of things happen in your life that make you doubt yourself or certain talents that you may have. And having friends from high school, there were many of them, but one of the kids that reached out and talked to me was Hubert Check. He was somebody on a school bus that I used to make laugh all the time. It was a bunch of people. Shout out to Billy Seibert, Megan Pressey, I think Lucy Carew. There were a lot of people I would just make jokes on the bus. But I was basically somebody who always liked comedy since I was a little kid. If you want to think about just like back in the day, there was only Comedy Central Presents, late night stand-up, Saturday night stand-up. And then you would go to like West Coast Videos or Blockbusters. And I would literally at the age of 7, which is basically how most people's personalities are developed. You absorb everything from when you were born. And I would be watching comedy, and then it wasn't until I was about 8 or 9, 10, and I got, because Jim Carrey was like one of the first things that I really liked as a kid, Dumb and Dumb. I remember fighting over Christmas. Me and my brother had a DVD, and I got The Mask, and he got Dumb and Dumber, and I was so mad because I wanted that one, because even at that time I knew that was more of a comedy, and that other one was more of a kid's movie. And but long story short, Weird Al Yankovic and like Jim Carrey were like, when I was really young, that's what hit me with comedy. And then when I started seeing like late night stand-ups and Comedy Central Presents, there was a whole culture of stand-up comedy. If you go from basically the late mid-90s, because if you're my age, you're in your late 20s or early 30s, with the whole Toonami era and Adult Swim, comedy was at its height at that point. You could the amount of things to be offensive, people could tolerate. And so I grew up in an age basically where comedy was at its, but you had Carlin and Robin Williams was still alive, Kevin Hart wasn't even that big at all. I mean, you just had, I'm thinking so many names, so many, but there was just so many people. And the envelope was getting pushed so much that growing up in that era of that comedy gave me a certain perspective. So when I would make these kids laugh on the bus, I didn't even realize what influence I was letting them have later in life with comedy. So Hubert Check called me up, and I'm also a very spiritual guy. I'm very spiritual, not that pseudo-spiritual shit. It was yeah, bro, I really collect crystals. It's my favorite. This one is aqua, and it means that your third eye's open, so you can always know where your grandmother is, or what. It's not like that shit. I've been just a very spiritual person in general. Forget what I was going with this. But, this whole journey for me, comedy-wise, has been very, very spiritual for me. And so even when I had these kids come up to me, and I had Hubert, and he would tell me, basically, I told you a spiritual thing because I don't even identify with my past anymore. That made me super depressed for so long. Things aren't going right in your present or you don't even see a future, but you wonder who the fuck you are anymore. You know what I mean? And so you hold on to the past to give you some semblance of who you are or whatever. And when I had Hubert, which I'll probably have on a maybe a next episode of the podcast, when you have that person who's making me remember about my past, about what effect I had on people and making them laugh, the biggest compliment he gave me was basically, you know, he's in so basically even the comedy some of these people are into, just like Hugh, and even the podcasts they're into, it was all an effect of me and of the amount of the comedy that I injected in their lives as young people. You know, and he was telling me like, oh yeah, you know, I you know, like Shane Gillis and all that. And yeah, he was telling me that when I'm depressed and shit sucks in my life, that I don't think about what this comedian said, like Shane Gillis, or I don't, you know, think about what's said in this podcast. I fucking think about what you making me laugh on the bus. And I haven't talked to this person since I graduated high school with. And I was already thinking about doing this again and all that. And it's getting hot in here. It's really sweating. No, I don't know. It's been very stressful. It's been very stressful, to be honest. I wish I could be more funny right now. But when he told me that, though, I was like hit emotionally. And I was like, wow, man. They're not talking about when this person made a joke as a certain comic. They're not talking about a podcast. They're saying when I made them laugh. So like I said, in life, you start to doubt yourself, but in certain things like that, and I'm trying not to identify with my past, because there really is only the present. That's like a spiritual thing I won't get into. You know, to hear that made me realize that, like, yeah, how powerful or how much of a gift it is that I have. You know, and we're all human beings, man. Like, I'm funny, but I'm also like really serious. So when shit goes in your life, you know, it's just what it is. So I should go from there and just be like, tell you I got kicked out of my house, and basically it doesn't really, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I think I just got too comfortable. My parents got a bit toxic. You know, even after, I think with COVID, everybody had something anyway. Your parents were divorced. Maybe you had something done to you that gave you post-traumatic stress syndrome, can't fucking think, that made you a certain way in your life, physically, mentally. But when COVID hit, it did something else to people. Whatever fine line you were on brought you way far over. And, you know, it made everybody lonelier, it made everybody, certain good things, right? People hung out with their family and be grateful. But for the most part, not only were a lot of people, unfortunately, had like suicides or couldn't take it, the people that survived have a lot of mental damage. And, you know, for me, my parents get into fights all the time. And like, I'm not a little kid, you know, I'm in my 30s. So, you know, dad's getting a black eye and they're yelling every day. And it's not even just that toxicity. The reason I really left is because of their relationship with me, which I'm not really going to go into because really I'm flooding on very low amount of energy. And long story short, just my dad wanted me to do something for my car. I had no problem doing it. I didn't take the route he wanted because my parents, especially my father, is a fucking narcissist. And he wants you to do something his way. And if you don't do it the way he wants to be done, you're an asshole, you're a loser, he's just going to yell at you and make you feel like a piece of shit. I still have this angry voicemail, all because I didn't get to Meineke the same time this motherfucker went because I went to a scenic route. But I've been dealing with a lot of different depression and other things. You know, people want to talk about like this, oh, sad clown stuff. And, you know, you can be funny if you have a lot of pain. It's a skill to bring coal into a diamond. It's a skill to try and bring pain and then make it into art. And it's easier said than done. And I think I've just gotten a point for that for myself. but it's all in retrospect. So it's been years and years. My family were fighting over money with my grandmother dying, and my dad decided that since that his family had a deterioration in that relationship, that he pretty much unwittingly, but still happened, destroyed his immediate family's relationship. And it's all because of fucking money. So I was trying to juggle my mom losing weight because she's basically obese, and my dad's anger problem and his lack of really being happy. He was depressed. Nobody really moved out of my house. Like my brother Phil, I didn't really have good role models to leave. My brother Phil, who's my oldest brother, yeah, he went to China and taught, but he's like married and he lives at my parents' house with his Filipino fiance. And I also had the stomach disease. I have so a lot of my friends know that, and a lot of my friends don't know that. A lot of old friends from high school have no idea. But when I was 18 years old, I basically had this disease called cyclical vomiting syndrome, and it's a cycle between feeling nauseous and having pain, and one can induce the other. And I would just throw up all my body weight. I mean, the pain's so intense, it feels like I'm giving birth to a midget that's got like fucking going and just fucking hitting my stomach like it's got fucking no boxing gloves, bare knuckle. It's the most excruciating pain one could be in. And the amount of acids that you throw up in your stomach, and I would have zero, nothing. And I liked working out and for years, but and I did martial arts. And originally, I wanted to pursue like an amateur. I wanted to go amateur fighting, and then when I was earlier, before I got sick at 18, I wanted to see if I could be a professional kickboxing or really MMA fighter, because I was brought up through kickboxing originally. My dad used to write for Black Belt magazine. I actually had a YouTube channel called Warrior Republic based off of a lot of that. But anyway, aside from that, comedy's always been kind of a calling for me. And I've just been, I did it in New York for about 6-7 years, for New Jersey and New York. I did a few New York shows, and then school came, and I vicariously listened to my parents. And it wasn't until I graduated Kane University, and I graduated, I guess, top of my class, whatever. I should have never went. I should have took the risk and been a stand-up comic. But, however, it was 7 years I didn't get to do comedy. Then I went to London 2 years ago to visit a friend, and I did comedy in England, which I'll show a little bit of.
So, I'm Matt from America, and Joe Biden does not know I'm here. In fact, I don't even know if Joe Biden knows where he is. You know what I mean? But yeah, so basically, we had a phenomenon with Donald Trump, man. We had a messy-haired president. He got elected. And then it seems like England did the same thing. You guys got like Boris Johnson, right? Did you see that speech he had where he couldn't finish it, right? Here's a quick impression. This is my impression of Boris Johnson having sex reading the Kama Sutra. Oh no, forgive me. Cheese and wine, my dear. Get a bit of cocaine. You know what? It is good to be in England, where you guys have more shires than the Lord of the Rings. It's fucking amazing, man. I think if really the Lord of the Rings was in England, Gandalf would never find Frodo. Frodo, what fucking shire are you in? You guys got Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, fucking Shire. But really, it's great to be in Game of Thrones Hobbiton land, so it's awesome to be here. So yeah, man, this is my first time in London. I love it. I'm a history major. And yeah, man, for historians, London's like a wet dream for historians. You guys got castles everywhere, man. I was like, oh, look, Tower of London. I was like, oh shit, Jack the Ripper was here. Oh, Winston Churchill flatulated on a bench. Like, I'm fucking there, dude. It's like, we're gonna fight them in the beaches, in the air, sea, and land. And now that's a historical site. Where Americans like me love it. I love it. So yeah, I'm gonna tell you something, you know, I love England. I love the English accent. You see, I got the British flag for you guys. You know, I used to be in college. I used to use the English accent to talk to girls. Yeah. I used to be so nervous, I would actually ask for where things are. You know, like, excuse me, do you know where the library is? And American girls, they're just like, oh my God, I'm taking my panties off like right now. Even in the wintertime, I don't give a shit. Even if you use the Cockney accent, you know where the library is now. Oh my God, a soccer hooligan, I'm taking off again. How many panties do I have on? Jesus Christ. But yeah, you know, one thing that happened in England that was interesting, anybody here have a big nose? I got a big nose. So I'm in a pub, and you know, it's winter time. I got like sniffles and stuff, so I'm like that, you know. And this guy's taking a piss, and then I'm washing my hands, and he goes to me, "Hi, mate, got some cake?" I'm like, "What? What? You got a big cake?" And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what? You guys like sell cupcakes in the bathroom? I'm like, what do you want? And he's like, no, mate, big cake. I was like, what? You mean like cocaine? He's like, yeah. I'm like, no, man, I'm good. I'm like, glad you said cocaine because I thought you wanted me to suck you off for a pound cake, you know? Of course, if I did it, it'd be lemon drizzle cake. But you guys have a drinking culture we don't have in the States. You mix alcohol with everything. There's like alcohol with coffee. You guys got alcohol in the post office? like why? You guys got like alcohol in the daycare center? It's fucking everywhere, man. I really love like just something I can appreciate. I don't have that. And one of the things they did when I was on the plane coming here, man, they decided to give me alcohol before going to England. And I was like, I can hold out, dude. No, wait, you know, because I'm going to the land of the pubs. So getting alcohol before landing in England is kind of like eating a Snickers before you hit Switzerland, you know? Might as well wait for the best. I'm an international American, and Americans don't really travel because we have Disney World. And, you know, Disney World, you know, everything is made of, all our castles are made of plastic, you know, White Castle, made of plastic, all that. The reason why Americans don't travel anywhere is because we have Epcot. And what Epcot is basically a 10, 20 square mile of trying to be Europe, or the world. So you can eat a bratwurst, eat a taco, and go to Canada in one day. You want more joke? One more joke. Yeah, one more joke. One more joke, guys! One more joke! All right. And this is why Americans are beating the British, I'm sorry. Okay.
But basically, I did comedy in England and didn't do comedy for longer than I actually pursued it. And I did fantastic. It was the best I've ever, like, I was just so comfortable. And I wrote the material like that day or that week, you know? And I mean, you realize, like, why the fuck did I stop doing this, you know? And it was right after, it was during COVID, actually. It was 2021 that was. And then I realized, you know, why I should never stop. And then it was 2 years that went by. I made a lot of money with cryptocurrency, and I rode that for a while. I actually made like 100 grand, didn't take it out in time. And then it was more like 50, 60. And then I bought this truck that my dad basically fought over with this fucking wheel locks nonsense. I didn't drive the way he wanted to, fucking whatever. And so I was rebuilding myself for 2 years and telling myself, oh, I got to get enough money to go and eventually go to Texas or whatever because of this comedy club Joe Rogan has. But what ended up happening was I got in so much fights that I don't want to get into at home. I said, fuck it. And I just sold my car. And I said, let me go down and just fucking try this. Let me just do it. I see where the comedy scene is going. You know, this is not even a year that Joe Rogan's club's been here, and it's the most booming thing here in Austin, Texas. If you don't know, I'm in Austin, Texas. I'm talking like most people that are watching this are going to be like my friends from wherever. But yes, so I'm in Austin, Texas, pursuing this comedy career and this talent that I know I have. Running on very little sleep with huge bags under my eyes. I'm usually a higher energy comic. You know, I can do impressions and whatnot. You know, but yeah, and I saw the scene exploding down here, and I just couldn't wait. I just couldn't wait. And so I went down here, and it's the right time. And I also got in a car accident in May, so I'm going to be getting some injury money too. So I sold my car, I sold my Dodge pickup Ram 1500, and I sold that shit for like 23 grand, man. I got some, you know, chewing tobacco and shit, and I just said, come down to Texas, boy. So basically, that's what I did. I sold that. My mom and dad didn't like it. And so here I am against the will of my parents at first, and even my little brother Jake, who I basically have a business with, was too infatuated. Basically, it was almost like we're fucking married, and everything we would do was just me, and him, and I was just taking care of everybody too much home. And I needed to just realize at 30-something years old, this is for me, and I got to do this for me. And, you know, when you have a comfortable home, that is bad too, because it lets you not grow, and then it makes you not understand things about the world. Like, I traveled to China. I've traveled to Europe. And it almost takes me to travel then to make me realize how much money it takes to actually leave your house. So I left here for about 20-something thousand. By the way, if you want to leave your house, you really only need, if you want to leave home, save 10 to 15 grand. That's basically all you need, man. People do it with less, with 5. I'm blessed that I had more money, and got this injury from a car wreck in May, and that's another whatever it comes to be. So I'm sitting pretty good, and I'm trying to go and get work and stuff right now, but it is December. It's the last bit of the year, so it's like, who's going to hire me, right? But anyway, let's talk more about Austin. Enough about me. So yeah, Austin is crazy, man. It's actually great. Austin, Texas. When I came here, I didn't really know what to expect. I thought I'd see like blonde-haired fucking Dallas chicks with big breasts and like, you know, that kind of thing. Later Southern twang. How y'all doing? Would you like some sweet tea, you know? We like them sweet titties. But it wasn't. Austin is like basically a nice town surrounded by Texas. Most of the people you'll meet aren't even from Texas here. But when I landed anyway, Austin is like the fastest growing city. Like, I'm basically on the main street where you saw, like, I don't know if you followed my Instagram guys, but I was on Rainier Street showing all the different stuff in the downtown with 6th Street. They're building this place. Like, there's new buildings built when I landed here. It looks like skyscrapers, huge skyscrapers, and it looks like New York. Like, it looks like it's turning into New York. I'm coming here as they're doing it, and I know there's just going to be more of that. So this area is just bumping with construction. It's bumping with jobs, and the comedy scene is here. It's big. Now, I'm going to go through some good things about the comedy scene. There's some bad things about the comedy scene as well. So the good things are there's a lot of shows. There's a lot of shows you can have fun on. There's like The Cave in the Creek. They have like an open mic, but they also have a comedy dating show, which I didn't think I was going to like, but it was kind of really funny. And they would bring in a guest. It'd be 2 guys doing commentating. They'd have like a table. They pick people from the crowd, and they give you 90 seconds, and then they would make fun of what you're saying, or they would help you on your date. But anyway, and you know, so the first day I landed here, which I did way too much shit. I should have just rested, because I didn't realize I wanted to perform so much, like to be on Kill Tony, to do Joe Rogan's Mothership open mic, but really I just burnt myself out. So when I landed, literally without hanging out too long, I went and to the first show of the Texas showcase of young comedians Joe Rogan had. Yeah, I saw like Cam Patterson. Who else did I see? I saw, I really can't remember right now. I saw a couple comics from Kill Tony. I actually saw Tony Hinchcliffe, and he was hilarious. He really did some others. Like, a lot of people just think Tony is just an insult comic, and he totally is. But he's actually just like a good performer, and he actually has got good material. He's a good writer, and he's got good thoughts. He's intelligent. Even maybe, a lot of people wouldn't think that, but I really enjoyed his set. He's like a fucking huge celebrity here, though. This Kill Tony thing. When I watched it, it wasn't really a big thing. I've been looking at comedy for years. Like, to me, I'm kind of like all the other older comics they have. I'm just not like famous or known. But I should have kept doing comedy for years because I probably would have already been at that level. But it's basically, the confidence that he showed there and all the other stuff. 17 years of doing comedy. I started like '09, even though it wasn't consistent. Tony just was doing it at 2007. And the scene that is developed between before Joe Rogan's Club being here to basically they was just doing the Vulcan Gas Company and there was different venues, but there was no main comedy club. And then when Joe Rogan decided to take all the people from the Comedy Store and bought them to facilitate to run a comedy club, not only is Joe's Clubs here now, but there's so many other clubs. I mean, when they told me there was a lot, like there's a good amount. I'm not going to say it's really like in New York or in LA. They told me like it was. It's not really. But you can go down, in a sense, you can go down and get like 8 different spots in one night. However, bad thing about, so when I used to do open mics, it would be sign up or you pay money and then you get on an open mic. Back in like 2009 to like 2012, whatever. And then now, since Tony Hinchcliffe made it famous by taking a bucket and pulling comics' names out of it and then giving them like a minute, a lot of these places that do open mics, 2 things. No longer do they do 5 minutes. 5 minutes is no longer a thing. You basically need to do 2-3 minutes at open mics now. And then when you do the Kill Tony, you only get 1 minute. So it forces you, I think, to be a good comic. And I've been to a lot of shows where, 5 minutes you usually get, even though it was a norm back in the day. You get a comic with 5 minutes, and, a couple of those minutes suck, whatever. But it's a different thing because I'm used to doing, 5 minutes and whatnot. But you have to write differently, too. You have to write probably, shorter jokes, especially if you're doing the minute. You got to write, shorter kind of jokes. And some of my stuffs are become stories, like stuff in China and England and whatever. So, but you have to write a certain way to kind of do that. And when you get 5 minutes, you can kind of not do that. And you maybe have longer jokes. Or if you have 10 minutes, you can take your time during your set or whatever. So yeah, I saw Tony Hinchcliffe and he was really, really good. And he's more than just your average insult comic. And and the scene here is a bit different with the bucket pulls. It seems to be like that everywhere. So it seems like once you get your pick, once you get picked out of the lot, to make a big impression is a huge thing around here. So when I saw the first group of comedians they had, a lot of them were very good. And some of them, could use work. But for the most part, I was very impressed. They consider this like a comedy mecca right now, and it definitely is booming. The city's booming. There's skyscrapers being built everywhere. And a lot of locals said it was totally not like this not that long ago. But they're developing these comics, man, and it's an interesting thing because if you can get a showcase at the Mothership, they really do look like they take care of you and want you to get as many shows. So, but what's interesting is I went and I was so tired, but I tried to go and do the open mic. And I know better that you're supposed to go earlier. But I went an hour early, but you need to go 2-3 hours early if you want to sign up. But I'll be dead honest with you. I wanted to sign up and do those things. I was just so tired from the lack of sleep. I woke up at 5:30. I got there at 6, and I was like a half hour late. But either way, you learn. But I know next time I learned enough that I will go earlier because you get this opportunity to show a good showcase for a minute or 2-3 minutes at the Mothership. This town, they really do care about comedy, and I know eventually I'm going to get that spot to show it. So one of the other interesting things is yesterday I went and saw at the Mothership, because the other one was Young Comedians Showcased, but there were a few that were reoccurring for this one. This is like the open mic one. And so when I went to the open mic, obviously couldn't get my name on there. I get sit in the big front of the stage of the little boy room. And it's like a smaller room Joe has. And I'm sitting with four of these guys. And I forget how it happened, but all four of us just started it almost seemed like we're friends, or it was just like, it seemed like they were friends to me, And one dude was from Texas. Phoenix, Arizona. The other person was from DC, and this other guy, John, was from Ohio. And so it was like, I believe it was Joel, Jay, and John. Shout out, guys, if you see this podcast. Probably longer down the road, you may. But anyway, I was talking to them, and, a lot of them wanted to do comedy. And they just got vibes from me, even though I wasn't trying to do anything specific to be funny, saying stupid shit, per se. They really liked my insight. They knew about, the insight I was giving them or talking to them about comedy. But one of the weirdest things is, you never knew you were going to meet here, on top of that. But I tried making friends. It's, hard to make. It's the third day, but it's, harder to make friends than you think. Because it's so competitive comedically in this town. So after the show, so when you go to Joe Rogan's show, there's no food. They don't allow food. And they don't even allow your cell phone use. You go to the club, they make sure you got no weapons on you, they do the scan bullshit, right? And then they take your phone, tell you to shut it off, and then they lock it. They lock it so you can't look at your phone. And I know people go, oh, that sucks. But really what it is it forces you to engage with the performer. So you are there's no distractions. Because we're such a distracted culture with our food and our phones and all that shit. So basically, it was a really intimate show when that happened. So number one, that's what happens when you go in Joe's Club. Number two, open mic night was good, and I saw a couple reoccurring acts that obviously were from the showcase. But there was a lot of open mic guys that they threw in between, and so I'm with these guys, and instead of us exchanging numbers, this one guy sitting next to me, John, who's dude's all right, he's a good dude, I like the guy, but he brings me to this pizzeria next door, and it's almost like we ditched all the other guys. And when you don't, this is your first couple days in Austin, I want to meet some friends, And I feel like the other dude, I would have connected more, the kid from DC, because he was writing tags and he just kind of had a personality of a comic, I feel. And a lot of stuff I was laughing at, and a lot of stuff he would laugh at, and a lot of stuff I didn't find as funny or maybe didn't react to, seemed like he was doing the same. So I'm interested to even meet aspiring comics, because at least I could maybe facilitate their confidence or help them out a bit. So I hope they see him. I see him again. But anyway, the guy takes me to this pizza place. I didn't think I'd get good pizza. There's an amazing pizza place right next to the Comedy Mothership. I'm eating pizza with the dude. He's just talking back and forth with me about, tips about comedy. And the weirdest thing is, this shows you how popular this Kill Tony thing and this whole comedy scene is. Here I moved here, right? These other guys, one of them's visiting. The other guy from DC, I think you believe, moved. But this kid from Ohio, he wants to move here. He can't. He's coming back to 15th to move in with a friend that's going to get a job in Austin with Tesla, because Tesla's in Austin, if you didn't know. But then he's like, I got a podcast in my car. Would you like to do a podcast? But it was so late, we ended up not doing it. But he basically drove 20 hours to go back to Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio. But if that doesn't explain to you how people are driving 20 hours just to stay here a couple days to see comedy shows and drive back and try and write just so they can come back here. I mean, that says a world of statement about how
many people want to try this out or aspire to. You know, comedy isn't easy, man. It's not. Even me, I'm running on low sleep right now. Comedy, if you think you're funny, and some people are with your friends, it's different when you're on stage. You almost have to relearn how to be funny again. It's like relearning how to walk. You know, it's like, oh, I know how to walk, and then someone just cuts your knees, like, and you can't fucking walk. You're going to PT again just to discover how to walk. That's what it's like to learn how to do stand-up comedy when you're already funny. Because there's certain rhythms that you naturally talk like, and certain pacings, and you can take advantage of different, like, you know, rhythms. That's basically what you do for your punchlines. Because everybody has a different rhythm or style, and naturally with the way you speak. But yeah, he was like, wanted me to be in his rape fan so he could interview me, but that didn't happen. Would have been more than happy to do that, but it really shows you it's so competitive here. It's more competitive to do comedy just to be seen than I actually thought. And as far as like a little bit of the cons, like, okay, it's a plus. You can also see a lot of shows, but it's a con about the bucket pole. And there's really not as many clubs as I thought that I wanted to believe, you know. There are and there aren't. Like, if you're an already established comedian, like you're Anthony Schultz or like Gillis or whatever, yeah, you can go and hit those spots like in one night. But if you're like me and you just got here and you want to get in an open mic, and then unless I get some low-grade show that's not one of those, you know, I'm almost lucky to see if I can do a set once a week. But the whole point is once you do, oh, and then they notice you, you know, then they'll let you have more and more and more and more. But some of these comedians, like even this girl that was really funny, and she was a guest on the dating app thing. I forget her name is. I feel like I've seen her before, comedy. But, you know, she went on stage and she was funny before, but then she went on, I know it's an open mic night and you're professional trying to, or semi-pro, trying to experiment new material, but like, she was just like, I shit my pants. My dad shits his pants. I think my mom shits his pants too. And it was just like, you're doing shit your pants material? Like, any thought-provoking, you know? So you have a lot of talent probably here, of course, but you have a lot of, like, when you have that many people flocking in one scene or one area, there's also a lot of, what do you call it? There's saturation. There's saturation of quality. And, you know, I personally had less than 100 shows because of the area. I grew up in New Jersey, and I really didn't have a lot of money as a kid. And the stomach disease I had, I was in and out of the hospital until I was like 26, 27 years old. So I had a limited, but when I would do shows, I was, you know, I would be very strategic about it, and I would try and do my best. And, you know, I might have like, you know, a couple of years over some people, but really it's all about how many shows have you done. But I'm like a natural at it, basically. And some people are, and that's great. It's just so much more competitive just to be seen than you think. And I think once you make your mark with it, it's a little bit easier. But and also it's a very kind of gritty, like the downtown is very gritty, and crazy kind of people too at night. There's a lot of crackheads. I've seen dumpster fire. But yeah, I like it. I love it. It's fun. It's definitely a really interesting American city. And now that it's got more skyscrapers and stuff, it really has, you could almost be feeling like you're walking in like Brooklyn or like some financial district in New York when you're almost walking through some of the downtown or looking at the downtown area. But Austin is unique. Good luck finding somebody who's actually from Austin. Here, it's all people that are transplants. And yeah. So basically, I think that's all I want to talk about. So I'm really tired, guys. This isn't the best podcast I've ever done, because I've done it with my other Warrior Republic podcast, but it's my first one doing it by myself. I'm just really tired. I just want to update you what's going on.
Basically, this is my comedy journey. I gave up everything to come here, to do comedy in Austin, to be noticed, to show, like, why not? To show the best I can fucking be. That you guys from high school that remember how funny I am, and for years I should have been doing it, but I was vicariously listening to life from my parents or society, and I needed to get married, and I needed to have this or that, and just made me unhappy. Like, I personally had enough depression. I was thinking of fucking not being here in this world, okay? I was crying into my bed to sleep at night because I didn't think I deserved to sleep on top of my bed. You know, I've been there, guys. And this took me a long time to struggle to get here, to see, to have the strength to go do this. And it's a big risk. Be away from your family, anybody you've ever known, just to pursue something. And I really am just going as a vehicle. It feels like a dream. I'm not really trying to almost think about it. I know I'm doing it, but it's just like, I feel like this is happening through me. Like universe-wise. I feel like it's pushing me, it's pulling me to do this. And so, with fear, you can't do anything. But with destiny, there is no fear. Because fear is just an illusion that blocks you from your full potential. And I think a lot of people have been living in fear, and a lot of people have doubts in themselves, and a lot of people don't love themselves. And I had to take a long time to find all those things myself. And I was working out for years. I actually got in really good shape. I got in fight shape. I should have just fought. But this stomach disease I have, these herniated discs I have in my lower back and my neck, it's okay. Maybe it's time to, you know, not get hurt anymore. I still love martial arts. I'm going to continue martial arts, but life happens for a reason, man. And yeah, and it just goes to show you, you never know where it'll take you, and it just feels right. It just fucking feels right. One last thing, you know, a lot of these comics, some of their styles I saw, you know, they'd be talking like this, or it'd be like really awkward. I really like going to Denny's. Yeah, I don't know. It's like you got to find like what personality works for you, and I think sometimes it has to go to your personality, you know, and because there's certain rhythms you naturally have. But some of these guys are putting on almost like a comic facade or rhythm that I'm not sure is truly theirs. And, you know, that's something you need to develop too, you know, and just come up with smart material. And some guys, you know, I haven't heard too many people stealing jokes, but it seems like everybody's very nice at first. I don't know really where else. Maybe I'll go somewhere else, and who knows, maybe it'll be dickheads. But at first, it seems like very happy and inclusive. But there's really not as many places to go walk down and do comedy. It almost seems like you need to kind of put yourself out there to be well known enough, at least in the local scene, to get more shows. I almost think they need more. Like, not like comedy clubs. They could have cafes or somewhere small, so they can do more open mic and facilitate it. One last thing, two things I just want to talk about. Sometimes you see a really good comic, it'll inspire you. And I saw Maria Bamford. If you don't know Maria Bamford, she talks like a little girl. I can't even do her voice, but she talks like really weird. And she's brilliant. She's brilliant. She is. If you don't know who Maria Bamford is, check her out. And this was an old thing, and I saw one of the best sets I saw from her. And honestly, man, like, comedy is at a very low bar right now, and people just want anything. And laughter, the world needs laughter more than ever. Comedians have never been more powerful, right? The platforms they get, they don't need to be on the late night shows. They just need to be on other people's podcasts of their own. But Maria Bamford, a lot of those older, not even that long ago comics, maybe like 10, 15 years ago, they were strong, man. It's still better than those comics that you can even get in Kill Tony. They're still better than the comics, you know, that you saw comparatively. They're not as good as now. They're still not as good as they were in the 90s or some of the 2000s or whatever. So comedy has got this weird rebuilding phase, I feel. And Joe Rogan's done a good job facilitating that. He doesn't need to make money on his club. He doesn't care if he breaks even. It's just to find and facilitate the best. So I hope I can showcase myself and do very well. Basically, that's it.
Also, I think they just gave Alex Jones his new account. I don't know if you guys know about that. I've been eating cheesesteaks for 10 years. I think I'm going to die. The Illuminati knows. They're trying to come and rape my daughters and try and put adrenochrome on my toothbrush so I can be controlled with the microchips in my brain. You know, Elon Musk just gave me my account back on Twitter. I just want to say that, guys.
Of course, I want to tell you, Elon Musk here, I've restored his account. Mr. Jones, talk about Sandy Hook or anything like that, just shut your fucking face and for our guidelines, and hopefully you won't get hurt and cancel your account, you bitch.
Anyway, Elon Musk, that's actually an impression I've been working on. But yeah,
I just feel like I haven't given you guys a lot. I'm just so low energy. I'm trying to just give you a little bit. But how cool is that? Alex Jones finally got his account back on Twitter. Or X. Whatever the fuck. Fucking Elon. But,
you know,
it says something with freedom of speech. Whether you like Alex Jones or not, I'm glad he got his account back. He actually opened up a lot of young people when they were younger. Maybe got too extreme. I'm not really someone who watches this stuff anymore, really at all. But it's good. It's good that they can recognize to give somebody back freedom of speech, because this country is based off of having ideas that you listen to that you don't even agree with. As long as somebody isn't violently hurting you, putting you in camps, they can believe what they want. You know, you may not agree with a neo-Nazi. You may not agree with a guy with a white hood, right? But the fact that they're there is something that promotes freedom about us on the other side who disagree. Because this is how you don't have a stagnant society. Society grows. And comedy is very important because there is no rules, there's no limits. So we can bring up stuff that society finds taboo or wouldn't want, to be tested. And that's what really why, you can talk about all these other things about, limiting speech and what we call, what people are specifically. I don't want to say for YouTube reasons, but yeah, I forget where I was going with this. But basically, yeah, guys, we're gonna end it there. I'm really fucking tired. I have no idea. I just felt like doing this. I'm gonna go downstairs. Rainier Street's awesome. If you go to Austin, Texas, it's where all the food trucks are and your skyscraper buildings. And I didn't think I'd like food at food truck, but man, I'm liking it a lot. This is the taco, bourbon, brisket capital of the fucking world, man. So I'm gonna sign off, guys. I appreciate you guys watching this. This is just one of many. I don't even know what time frame this podcast even went. But I'm also going to release another podcast that's 2 years ago. It might be episode 1, it could be 2, or maybe this is episode 1. The next one's 2. But it's with this black person I met in England. Beautiful soul. Beautiful man. Named Winston. And yeah. Going to just put that episode out. And so maybe it'll be 2 for the price of 1. And so you can see how that goes. There'll be a little editing with that. It's a little old school or whatever. But I find it interesting. And comedy's interesting. People are interesting. Politics is interesting. Culture is interesting. But I hope this is just one of the first. This is just my first episode, or whatever you want to say, whatever order. This is one of the earlier episodes. So I hope you enjoyed it. This is me, Matt Galletta, Matt the Gons Galletta. And I really, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. And stay tuned for more. All right. Thank you. Peace.